Welcome, baseball fans, to Games 3 and 4. Games 3 of National League Division Series and Games 4 of the National League Division Series. We have had a lot of exciting baseball, especially for a Monday. Welcome back to the work week and welcome back to baseball. Let's go ahead and get us started with our first game of the day. The Houston Astros go into Tampa Bay for Game 3 with an opportunity to sweep and sail into the American League Championship Series. What happens? Anything but. They got Zack Greinke starting for Houston versus Charlie Morton of Tampa. Charlie Morton, the hero of the wild card game, winning the Tampa Bay Rays over the Oakland Athletics to go to the ALDS. And Morton does everything, including shine in this game. He goes 5 innings pitched, 1.8 A0 ERA, 1 earned run, and throws 9 strikeouts over 93 pitches. Phenomenal start, everything you'd expect out of Charlie Morton. In fact, frankly, Houston never should have let him go. I mean, think about it. They let him go, and they signed it at the trade deadline for Greinke. I mean, obviously, Tampa picked up a hell of a starter in Morton here. Zack Greinke, I realize everyone loved that acquisition, and on paper, Zack Greinke made Houston the World Series favorites. The reality of the matter is that Zack Greinke has, by and large, pitched on small market teams for his entire career. You can argue about whether they're small market teams or not, but fundamentally, Zack Greinke has admitted in the past to have an anxiety disorder. He can't handle the big stage. And what bigger stage than the playoffs? Zack Greinke goes 3 innings and 2/3, a 14.73 ERA, gets shelled for 6 runs, does strike out 5 batters, I'll give him that, but he only goes 61 pitches. It's just a home run barrage here. Altuve for Houston leads off in the first, 1-0 on a home run. In the second, Kiermaier, 3-run blast. In the third, Chow, home run, brings it to 4 runs, 4-1. Then Lau, 5-1 in the fourth. Some small ball, tacks on 3 more runs off the bullpen. Then Adames, home run in the 6th. Some small ball to tackle on the extra run there. Ultimately, the pitching for Houston was just shelled tonight. Shelled. To all Houston Astros fans, my sympathies and condolences for you for what appeared like it could have been an easy sweep into the ALCS was anything but. However, on the bright side for Houston, you've got Verlander coming back on short rest. He's never done that before, especially in the playoffs. However, if you want anybody to close out a game, even on short rest, look no further than Verlander. And you've got so many weapons in that rotation that you don't even need him in Game 1 of the ALCS. Let's just close this out and move on. They've got Castillo going for Tampa, and he's a quality pitcher, but he's not an elite pitcher. Welcome, Justin Verlander. So, in this case, I so absolutely see Houston closing it out in Game 4, splitting the Tampa series 1-1 and ending this whole division series. Moving right along to Atlanta and St. Louis, of the 4 division series, these have been the absolute most evenly matched. And today's final score in the 10th inning, 5-4 win for St. Louis on a walk-off sac fly by Molina, shows how evenly matched they are. You've got starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel going 3 innings in the 3rd innings pitched, 4.50 ERA, gives up 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts over 67 pitches. Dakota Hudson going 74 pitches over 4 2/3 innings with a 1.93 ERA, giving up 1 run and striking out 2. By and far, Hudson did a better job in pitching, and it showed. In the first inning, Goldschmidt home run, 1-0 at St. Louis. Then you have Ozuna getting in on the action. Home run, 2-0 Arizona. In the fourth, Ozuna again, home run, 3-1 St. Louis. Yes, there was some small ball, which accounts for the runs that weren't written down here. I totally get that. And small ball has fundamentally been the hallmark of this series. But considering the volume of home runs in this game, 2-run shot, home run, I felt it was of value to mention that and get into a little bit of detail there. Now, of course, everything it culminates into the 8th inning and 10th inning, where everything is on the line and all things are equal. 4-3 in the 8th inning. Yadier Molina line drive ties the score up 4-4. Talk about a turning point. See, the game is tied. Potentially going to be an opportunity for St. Louis to tie the series and send it back to Atlanta. Goes into extra innings. Now, before I go into extra innings, I want to give a redeeming quality to Carlos Martinez, with whom I have been hard on the last 2 games, last 3 games of the series, in which I've given him a hard time about the fact that he has been ineffective and allowed Atlanta to get their 2 wins in the series and take a 2-1 lead. Well, Carlos Martinez went 1 inning pitched, 0 innings, 0 earned runs. He had a clean inning, and I want to give him props for redeeming himself and having a smooth inning. It wasn't exactly, I would say, a calm inning. Certainly on the edge of your seat. You never knew what was going to happen, but I saw him come in. I saw him do his job. He did an effective work, and so as redeeming quality, I gave him a noteworthy mention in this game. Of course, Yadier Molina comes up in the bottom of the 9th, hits a sac fly, takes the walk-off, and enables the walk-off win to score from third, 5-4 St. Louis. Series tied 2-2, going back to Atlanta, and showdown between Flaherty and Falsnitz. I think I'm butchering that name like I did the first time, but this is a rematch of Game 1, and I think this is going to be a phenomenal, no, not Game 1, Game 2 rematch of, because Keiko went in Game 1 there, and Flaherty went in Game 2, and yeah, rematch of Game 2, in which Atlanta did win this game, and both teams have every reason to expect that they can win Game 5. I'm going to go ahead and give this to Atlanta for the home field advantage purposes here. Albeit both teams have gone 1-1 at home and on the road, this is why you want home field advantage for the Game 5, the series clincher. So at this point in time, Houston's up 2-1. Atlanta and St. Louis 2-2 goes back to Atlanta at Game 4 in Tampa, and that brings us to our final game of the night. LA at Washington. The LA being the juggernaut that they are against the Washington Nationals, which had to make an amazing 8th inning comeback, take out the Brewers. You would thought maybe when they went to Washington, it was going to be game over for LA, for Washington. Not so much. The Washington showed their grit, and they got the job done. They had Max Scherzer came in relief. In Game 3, was ineffective out of the bullpen, but starts Game 4, and has that kind of start that you dream of when you acquire Max Scherzer. He goes 7 innings, 109 pitches, 1.13 ERA, gives up 1 run and 7 strikeouts over 7 innings. Phenomenal job. He willed his team to that victory, especially with the deep lineup that LA has. You couldn't have asked for a better performance out of Scherzer. On the opposite end, Rich Hill, a guy with whom I have a great deal of respect for the way he dispatched the Cubs in the NLCS a couple of years ago, And he's always been a solid mainstay of the LA Dodgers. He's never been considered an elite pitcher, but he's always been a guy that you trust to get the ball to and to bring home the win. Unfortunately, in this game, it was less than stellar. It was a 58-pitch, 2.2 innings pitched, 3.38 ERA, 1 earned run, and 2 strikeouts. Ultimately, he did an alright job, but they had to pull him because while he didn't necessarily give up the damage, he put them on the brink of a lot of damage. He loaded the bases up for Washington. They had to take him out to bring in a reliever to get them out of the inning. It was not necessarily, he didn't have actually in numbers on paper a bad outing, but he put himself in a compromising situation and forced LA to say, we cannot afford to let the bases loaded score and let this game get out of hand. In the end, Washington still ties the series up and it goes back to LA, but at the time, LA is trying to close out this series. They have a 2-1 lead and bases loaded. They said, okay, you're in trouble. We're taking you out of the game, putting somebody else in to help keep the damage off the board and give us a chance to win this game with our offense. Unfortunately, they only scored 1-1. In the first, Justin Turner, home run, 1-0 LA, gets the ball rolling. Unfortunately, due to the grit of Scherzer, they never saw another run, including the bullpen. They locked that down and shut down the LA Dodgers after Scherzer came out and gave them 2 innings to close out the game. In the third, Rendon, sac fly, ties the game up 1-1. In the fifth, Rendon, single, 2-1 Washington. In the fifth, Zimmerman, 3-run blast, 5-1. Rendon is sac flying to 6-1. There was some small ball going on there, but again, I wanted to focus on the home runs here because in the National League, you see a lot of small ball. It makes the home runs stand out more. It also shows the pitching quality here because if you the better the pitching quality, the more small ball you have to have. When you're getting shelled for home runs, then you have some struggling pitchers there. In the end, Washington ends up taking this game by a landslide, 6-1 over LA, sends it back to LA for Game 5, in which you're going to have a Strasburg versus Buehler. Based upon Buehler in Game 1, there's absolutely no reason to think that Walker won't be able to have a strong performance and bring this home for LA. However, Strasburg has been absolutely nothing but stellar in the series between his Game 3 win and his out of the bullpen performance in Game 2. I think he's a little overworked, especially considering Walker's had a full amount of rest going into Game 5. I think this is a coin flip, honestly. If I was going just strictly on matchups and the grit shown throughout the series, I would lean towards Strasburg. However, if I'm going to go with the fact that Buehler was very solid in Game 1, gave an excellent performance, and they have home field advantage, I will go with LA. Either way, I want to know what you think about what I think. Please leave your comments in the section below about how you think the games went, who you think is going to win the next game, and who's going to close out Game 5 between Atlanta, St. Louis, and LA and Washington. Now, bear in mind, in my bracket, I had LA winning in 4. I had Atlanta over St. Louis in 4. Both series are going to Game 5. I totally misjudged the opponents here. St. Louis and Atlanta was much more evenly matched than I gave them credit for, and Washington showed a lot more grit than I gave them credit for. They did a wonderful job tying the series up. Now we have an exciting Game 5 to look forward to. I had Houston closing out Tampa in 4 games. That's still on the table. We'll see what happens. And after the time of this recording, New York Yankees are up 4-1 over the Minnesota Twins. The game isn't over yet, so I don't have any stats to post at this time. However, it looks like, barring a Chapman blown save, which is unlikely because he's been very underused this series, it looks like the New York Yankees might sweep the Minnesota Twins. I'll keep an eye on that and enjoy the game. In the meantime, all of you. If you just happen to be coming across this video on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel. I would love to hear all about your thoughts and opinions on the games. And thank you for watching. Have a great night.